And there are some very subtle and disturbing things here as well. The American eagle isn't perched to remain here forever, but rather seems on the verge of flying away. The flag is falling. The stars are dissipating into the void. Our national motto, E pluribus unum, out of many, one, is virtually unreadable. It's like letters stamped in soft sand. The only thing that's sharp and well-defined in this image is the circle, the O. That's what's permanent and immovable. Everything else is fading away. You think this is an accident? Think again. Now, when George Bush was elected, the W logo was put away for 4 years until it was dragged out again for his second campaign. But this logo is still with us. At mybarackobama.com, we see images of a diverse group of citizens being called to organize for America. Men and women of various ages and ethnicities. What do they have in common? Oh yeah, I see. They're all branded. You know, mybarackobama.com is run by the Democratic National Committee. The new Democratic Party logo looks like this, which is great, by the way. Dynamic and energetic. It's a far, far cry from this stodgy, uninspired, static, childlike thing. But this, pardon the expression, kickin' Democratic Party logo appears nowhere on mybarackobama.com. However, the Obama logo is everywhere. Everywhere. It's everywhere. They even tell you flat out it's everywhere. You know, to the best of my knowledge, this is, again, pardon the expression, unprecedented. I believe it is unique in the American experience to brand an individual leader. The President of the United States has a logo. Here it is. It's a pretty exclusive club. Barack Obama is one of only 43 people in the history of the world authorized to use this logo. Grover Cleveland technically being both the 22nd and the 24th president. The fact that we see the Obama logo attached to healthcare proposals means that we are seeing an individual brand, that of Barack Obama, being used alongside and in many cases in place of the logo of the President of the United States. That's interesting, and I don't like it. The man won the election and the right to use the seal of the President of the United States. The fact that we continue to see the Obama logo used by the Democratic National Committee tells me that this is a perpetual campaign. And what they are branding is, in fact, an ideology centered around a cult of personality. Now, we've seen in the past the dangers of branding an ideology with an icon. The two great totalitarian ideologies of the early 20th century both used powerful icons to represent their ideas. I'm not going to show those here because it would be obscene. It would be absolutely obscene to compare the horror they generated, 150 million dead, no less, to what's going on here today. That was mass murder. This is merely advertising. We've just never seen that kind of thing before here in America. The Obama logo has been extremely powerful, but there is a weakness embedded in the power of identity. If this logo is shorthand for all of the positives that President Obama wants to project, then it can also be used as a shorthand for his negatives as well. Lately, there's been an avalanche of anti-Obama merchandise, most of it centering around the ubiquitous O. Here in Los Angeles, we've for years seen an iconic image by an artist named Shepard Fairey. He's a charming guy, one of whom's collection is entitled E pluribus venom. We've seen his famous Obey poster plastered all over LA for many years. The face is based on the wrestler Andre the Giant, and it's a powerful image. Shepard's latest work is, of course, this, which is so striking that it immediately became the unofficial Barack Obama poster and rapidly produced any number of parodies. But the worm is turning. Now here's Shepard Fairey's work turned in on itself. It's not a bad job. And also, of course, this has been getting a lot of attention lately. It first appeared pasted on a remote pillar in essentially the middle of nowhere. Of course, LA Weekly called it an abomination, a call to a lynching, adding, quote, "All that's missing is the noose," unquote. However, on the other hand, this image, published in Vanity Fair, not on a remote overpass by some unknown street artist, but rather by the editor of a national major magazine, was, on the other hand, hailed as brilliant satire and a remarkable statement on the sad state of American affairs. This is an excellent Photoshop job, but as propaganda, it could use a little work. The Joker's signature line was, "Why so serious?" Now, if you had done this, you might have had a masterpiece. This image works because of the fake smile hiding sinister intent. Many people are starting to get that impression of this president. This image has real power. But people obsessed with their own image expect some kind of opposition. However, there's one thing the true narcissist cannot tolerate. This is the killer app. I wouldn't worry about the Joker poster so much, Mr. President, but if this ever catches on and your policies are reduced to three-letter ridicule, well, sir, then you are in real trouble.
pretty soon, by the way, those camps, you know, we learned that in Germany they detained Jews, okay, and they detained gypsies and communists in their camps and stuff. And Stalin had his gulags, just like in Poland, okay? We remember Lech Walesa and stuff. We remember what happens. And remember how he said, jeez, how he burned in the camps. When we could do something, we weren't doing anything. We could have waited for them in alleys. We could have waited for them in the stairwells when they came to take people away. We could have had 2x4s with nails in them. We could have stopped this. Well, now that we're building camps in the United States, that's correct. You heard, you've seen before. Watch the show Camp FEMA. Watch the Real Story late night movies on Friday night. You'll see this stuff, okay? But since we're in overdrive, you've got to now understand that this isn't the first time in history, okay? In this case, globalist bankers who are eugenicists have taken control. They've, you know, just because, I love this analogy, just because a bunch of hijackers take over the plane and put on the captain's hat, that doesn't mean we all owe him allegiance to him like he's the captain of the plane. Okay? When criminals take over Washington, when criminals take over your government, that doesn't mean just because they put on the badge and the seal that they are, you know, the real leaders. And if they pass laws, like in Massachusetts, where Duval, the devil Patrick, you know, goes and what? Says executive order, I'm going to, without, you know, doing it, I'm going to do SO 2028. Lou Kafka, come on the show. I've had it with you, okay? This whole thing of we can kick down your door, this pandemic law thing, all based on a pandemic hype hoax thing. Okay, but our governor, Duval Patrick, says, well, I'm just going to executive order, you know, SO 2028, which says what? We can come into your mother's house, okay, if she's not feeling well, she doesn't want to answer the door, they don't have to knock, they can kick the door down. They can drag her off, quote, quarantine or anything they want to her. They can forcibly inject and inoculate her, supposedly, with what? Big Pharma's drugs? Oh, thank you, Merck. Why don't you look up what's happening with HPV shots, huh? Why don't you look up with Baxter Pharmaceuticals, okay? Why don't you look up, you know, gosh, you people should learn, okay? I mean, why is autism through the roof? Why is, you know, take a look at, you know, diabetes. Take a look at all the people with cancer and stuff. And then go back to the government studies called the Special Virus Cancer Program. 15 years they ran it. Where did they run it? Where Fort Detrick was. What was Fort Detrick? Bioweapons plant. Honest guy, Dick Nixon, I'm not a crook, right? He what? We're going to not make bioweapons anymore. We're going to be the Cancer Institute. People. Have you seen all the people around you getting cancer? Don't you realize that these eugenicist people, not only are they enslaving your youth, okay, they're constantly stealing and chipping away at this republic, and they're taking it down, and you're napping. You have to start waking up. Stop drinking that fluoride water. Stop taking the Prozac. Stop thinking that football's the most important things, you bunch of sports nuts. Start figuring out what's happening to this country. Realize the parallels and realize it's now. It's like now or never. You wake up and you start saying, hey, you know what? This is a great republic, and this is what I want for my children. I don't want some stupid future socialist, fascist, Nazi state, okay, run by a bunch of globalist bankers, okay? You've got to start reading when they pass these legislations like the bailout bills where they can take over any business, okay? They took over GM. What does it mean when the government controls all business? What does it mean when the government controls all health? What does it mean when the government starts wars based on lies? This is not the first time. Okay, what does it mean when we have free speech zones? What does it mean when we have the Patriot Act? You can't say anything, you know, that to protest anything the government does or whatever, that's an act of terrorism. Look at how they're using the military in the streets. Take a look at the G20, okay, 2,500 army people and, you know, and National Guard, okay? Take a look, they're using sound cannons and microwave weapons against the people. Understand, that's what they make up at Raytheon. Understand who this benefits. Cui bono, you know? Come on, for you Latin people out there, okay? There's reasons you play chess. There's reasons you pre-position pieces. You listeners, you viewers out there, it's time to wake up. It's time to slap yourself in the face, slap some cold water in your face, look in the mirror, take a good look, because I want you to ask yourself, is now the time to be silent? I want to have you practice, by the way. I used to say this to you, and I'll say it again. I want you to practice in the mirror. When your grandchildren come up to you and they sit, if you get to see them, okay, if they don't drug them up first. Oh, by the way, your new science czar writes books in the 70s called Ecoscience. His name was Holdren, okay, where they want to take the children away from the parents. This is like 1984. The government wants to raise them. They want to put stuff in your food and your water. That's what he wrote in his book, and that's what they're doing today, okay? And they want to control whether or not you can be fertile or not. Well, that's why we elect a government, right? Do you see what you've bought here? Do you see what your apathy has brought to the, you know, the shores of America? Don't let these globalist bankers ruin, okay, a great republic.